5. The Eagle and the Crow. Doctor, once an eagle had pain in its eyes and called for the crow, who was known as the physician of birds. The eagle asked, "What should I do for this pain in my eyes?" The crow replied, "I will bring the best herb that will heal your eyes." The eagle answered, "If you do this, I will reward you greatly." The crow then took an onion and a sponge, mixed them together, and applied the mixture to the eagle's eyes. This caused the eagle to go blind. The crow then came, devoured the eagle's chicks, and repeatedly attacked the eagle. The eagle cried, "Cursed be your medicine! Now I cannot see, and you have eaten my chicks." The crow replied, "As long as you could see, I was never able to taste your chicks, although I longed for it. Now my desire is fulfilled." 600. The Donkey and the Pig. A donkey often saw that the pig in the house was given bread, pottage, draught, and such things, and did no work except when it had eaten well, then went to sleep. The donkey thought, "This pig has it good, eats and drinks well, and does no work. I labour all day and eat little. I will pretend to be sick." So he did. He lay still. His master urged him to get up, but he refused and groaned. The master said to his wife, "Our donkey is ill." The mistress said, "Since that is so, let us give him bread, flour, and bring him water." They did so. The donkey ate little at first, then plenty, and grew fat. And the donkey said to himself, "Now I have a good life." Then, when the pig was fattened, the master of the house brought a butcher with an axe and knife to kill the pig. The butcher struck the pig on the head with the axe, causing it to fall, and with the knife drew blood from its throat. Seeing this, the donkey was terrified, fearing they might kill him too, since he had grown fat, and he said to himself, "Certainly I prefer to work and lead my former life than to be killed like this." He left the stable and jumped before his master. Seeing this, the master restored him to his former duty, and he died a good death. 601. The Chicken and the Kite. A hen often gathers her chicks under her wings, especially to protect them from the kite. One day a kite flew over her chicks, and she called them. All of the chicks came under her wings, except for one that found a worm and began to peck at it. Meanwhile, the kite swooped down and snatched that chick. 602. The Lion's Feast with the Cat and Others. The lion invited the animals to a grand feast. Among them was the cat. Wishing to please everyone, the lion asked each guest what they would most like to eat. The cat replied, "Rats and mice." The lion considered this and thought it would be improper if not everyone could share the same dish. So he ordered a general course of rats to be served. The cat ate heartily. The other animals grumbled in disgust, exclaiming, "Ugh! What is this?" Because of this, the entire feast was ruined. So it is with many great banquets. Among the guests there are always some cats. Nothing pleases them unless it is the filth of drunkenness, and for their sake the host keeps everyone, willing or not, until nightfall, so that all may drink to excess, filling their bellies and losing their souls. 603. The Goose and the Crow. A fat and heavy goose asked a crow to help her fly high so she could see the mountain tops and treetops. The crow agreed and placed his feet beneath her to lift her up, but the goose was so heavy that he couldn't move her at all. The goose asked, "Why aren't you lifting me?" The crow replied, "No matter how much I try to raise you, you weigh me down so much that I simply can't do it." Likewise, a righteous man prayed for a sinner who had asked him to. But later, the sinner returned and said, "Sir, I don't feel your prayers helping me, for I sin and fall just as before." The righteous man said, "Come with me." They walked together, and along the way a sack fell from a horse. The righteous man said, "Let's lift the sack." "All right," said the sinner. Both placed their hands on it. The sinner tried to lift the sack, but the righteous man kept pulling the other end down to the ground. "Why aren't you lifting it?" the righteous man asked. "I can't because you're holding it down," the sinner replied. The righteous man said, "That is what you do to me. I try to lift you up with my prayers, but you keep pulling yourself down with your sins. If you truly made an effort to rise, together we could lift you." A foolish man. A man passed by the Pope, the Emperor, kings and princes. At last he came to a poor man. The poor man asked him to stay. The man replied, "How could I stay with you when I have left behind so many nobles? I would be a fool to do so." So it is with riches. They may stay with the wealthy for a time, but I would never believe they will remain forever. The Enchanter. An enchanter passed by kings and princes and blinded them all. Would you ever let such a man enter your house? And if he sought to take your eye, would you allow him in? Certainly not. You would chase him away. This servant is called Robert the Rich. These are the riches that blind the eyes of the wealthy. Since kings wage war for land and wealth and commit murder for the love of riches, do not welcome them. The game of chess. It is the same with the wealthy as in the game of chess. When the pieces are taken out of the bag, some are called kings, some knights, some bishops, and some pawns. The players move them about. Whoever can defeat another is called skillful. Then, when the game is over, the pieces are put back into the bag without order. So it is with mankind. All are born from the same sack, the mother's womb. In life, one man plays against another. One wins, another loses, another is defeated. Whoever can overcome others is praised as great and powerful. But in the end, all are cast into the same sack once more, their bodies into the earth, their souls into hell, where there is no order, only eternal terror. The kite and the partridges. A kite once examined its wings, feet, and talons, and said, "Am I not as well armed as a hawk or falcon? I have wings, feet, and talons just like theirs. Why can't I catch partridges?" The kite knew a place where many partridges walked and swooped down upon them. It caught one with its beak, two with its wings, and two with its feet. However, unable to hold on to all of them, it lost them all. As the saying goes, he who grasps at too much loses everything. From then on, the kite never attempted to catch wild birds again. And the tricks of the fox and the cat. Reynard the fox met Tybert the cat. Reynard asked, "How many tricks or skills do you know?" The cat replied, "Truly, I know only one." Reynard inquired, "What is that?" The cat responded, "When dogs chase me, I know how to climb trees and escape." The cat then asked, "And you, how many do you know?" Reynard answered, "I know 17, and I have a whole sack full of tricks. Come with me, and I will teach you my ways so the dogs won't catch you." The cat agreed, and they set off together. As they were running, hunters and dogs began chasing them. The cat said, "I hear the dogs. I am frightened now." Reynard reassured, "Do not worry, I will show you how to escape." But as the dogs and hunters drew closer, the cat said, "I will not go any further with you. I wish to use my own trick." And with that, the cat jumped up into a tree. The dogs, ignoring the cat, continued to chase Reynard. Eventually, the dogs caught him, seizing him by the legs, belly, back, and head. From high above, the cat shouted, "Reynard, Reynard, open your sack! Surely none of your tricks are worth an egg." In this fable, the cat represents the simple, the righteous, who rely on one's skill to escape to safety, symbolized by the tree. Reynard, on the other hand, represents the deceitful, such as lawyers, advocates, and tricksters, who have many tricks and false methods, symbolized by the sack full of tricks. The dogs and hunters represent the dangers and trials of life, while the tree symbolizes the refuge of the righteous. When the righteous escape the threats of evil, they can look down and say, "Reynard, Reynard, open your sack. Your tricks cannot save you from the consequences of your deceit." The crow and the dove's chick. A crow once snatched a dove's chick. The dove went to the crow's nest, begging him to return her chick. The crow said, "Can you sing?" The dove replied, "I can, but not very well." The crow said, "Then sing." So the dove sang as best she could. The crow said, "Sing better, or you will not get your chick." The dove said, "I cannot, nor do I know how to sing better." The crow replied, "Then you will not get your chick." And the crow, along with his wife, devoured the dove's chick. Thus, the rich and bailiffs seize an ox or sheep from a simple person and impose a false or unjust accusation. The simple person comes, asks for the pledge, or requests its release, promising 5 shillings or more or less, depending on their means. The bailiff says to him, "Friend, can't you sing better? If you don't sing better, you won't get your pledge." The simple person replies, "Truly, I do not know, nor can I sing better, because I am needy and poor, and I cannot give more." Then the rich man either keeps the pledge or afflicts him in another way, and thus devours the poor man. 607. The Wolf's Funeral. It happened that a wolf died. The lion gathered the beasts and held a funeral. The hare carried the holy water, hedgehogs bore candles, goats rang bells, badgers dug the grave, and foxes carried the dead on a bier. Berengarius the bear celebrated Mass, the ox read the Gospel, and the donkey read the Epistle. After the Mass was celebrated and Isengrim was buried, the animals feasted splendidly on his belongings and longed for a similar funeral. 608. The dog defecating. It happened that a dog wanted to relieve himself near a group of rushes. One of the rushes sharply pricked the dog's hindquarters. The dog moved away and barked at the rushes from a distance. The rush said, "I would rather have you bark at me from afar than soil me up close. Likewise, it is better to expel fools and troublemakers from our company, even if they bark through criticism, than to be contaminated by their presence. As it is written in Ecclesiasticus, he who touches pitch will be defiled by it." A unicorn chased a man. As he fled, the man found a tree with beautiful fruit. Below was a pit full of serpents, toads, and reptiles. 2 worms, one white and one black, were gnawing at the tree. The man climbed the tree and ate the fruit, delighting in the leaves, not noticing the worms gnawing at the tree. It fell, and the wretched man tumbled into the pit. Mystically interpreted, the unicorn is death, which no one can resist. The tree is the world. Its fruits are various pleasures, food, drink, beautiful women, and such things. The leaves are flattering words. The 2 worms gnawing at the tree are day and night, which consume everything. The foolish man takes pleasure in these fruits and doesn't pay attention until he falls into the pit of hell, where various kinds of reptiles eternally torment the wretched man. He stands poorly secure who is about to fall immediately. Note, this story is similar to a parable from the Buddhist scripture Parables Sutra. Parables Sutra is believed to have been established between the 3rd and 1st centuries BCE, which predates the stories of Odo of Cheriton, 12th to 13th century CE. Furthermore, many of Aesop's fables have Eastern origins, and Greek myth spread to Eastern Asia before the Middle Ages. This demonstrates the long history of cultural exchanges between the East and West. 610. The Fox. Once a fox wanted to cross a river by boat. She promised the boatman a reward. The boatman took the fox across the river. When they reached the other side, the boatman asked for his reward. The fox said, "I'll give it to you right away." Then she urinated on her tail and splashed the water into the boatman's eyes. The boatman shouted, "You've given me a terrible reward." From this, it is said, he who serves evil loses his service. The Fox and the Hens. A hungry and cold fox came to a hen house and asked the hens to let him in. They replied, "We won't open the door because you're our enemy and have always harmed us." The fox said, "I won't harm you, I swear by all the saints." The hens replied, "We don't believe you." The fox continued, "You can believe me, because I am about to die from hunger and cold. If I die, God will hold you accountable." Moved by pity, the rooster and hens opened the door. The fox entered and rested for a while. Once warmed up, he forgot his promise. He caught one hen, killed her, and ate her. Then he caught another, causing great disturbance among them all. 612. The Falcon and the Kite. Once, a falcon caught a kite and held it tightly with one foot. The falcon said, "Wretched creature, don't you have a body, head, and beak as large as mine, and feet and claws as strong? Why do you let me hold you like this and quickly end your life?" The kite responded, "I know well that I am as strong and have limbs as robust as yours, but my heart fails me. Similarly, many are as strong, powerful, and wealthy enough to spend freely, yet they lack heart. Likewise, many can endure fasting and the hardships of religious life just like others, but they lack heart." The Mice and the Cat. Once, the mice held a council to figure out how to protect themselves from the cat. A wise mouse suggested, "Let's tie a bell around the cat's neck, and then we can hear it wherever it goes and avoid its traps." Everyone liked this idea, but one mouse asked, "Who will tie the bell around the cat's neck?" One mouse answered, "Certainly not I." Another said, "Nor would I approach it even for the whole world." 614. The Rose and the Birds. The birds gathered one day and discovered a beautiful early blooming rose. They argued about who should receive it, deciding that the most beautiful bird should be the one to claim it. They debated which bird was the most beautiful. Some said the parrot, others the dove, and still others the peacock. Then the owl appeared and claimed that it was the most beautiful, and thus deserved the rose. The other birds burst into laughter, saying, "You're only the most beautiful in an ironic sense, because you're actually the ugliest." They decided to wait until morning for the final judgment. That night, while the other birds slept and the owl could see clearly in the dark, the owl stole the rose. When the theft was discovered the next morning, the birds decreed that the owl should never fly during the day or live among them. The owl, being able to see better in the dark, would be harassed by the other birds with shouts and attacks if it appeared during the day. A mouse once fell into the foam of beer while it was bubbling. A cat passing by heard the mouse squeaking because it could not get out. The cat asked, "Why are you crying?" The mouse replied, "Because I cannot get out." The cat asked, "What will you give me if I pull you out?" The mouse said, "Whatever you ask." The cat said, "If I free you this time, will you come to me when I call you?" The mouse replied, "I firmly promise this." The cat said, "Swear to me." And the mouse swore. The cat pulled the mouse out and let it go. Later, when the cat was hungry, it came to the mouse's hole and called for it to come out. The mouse said, "I will not." The cat replied, "Didn't you swear to me?" The mouse said, "Brother, I was drunk when I swore." This is how many people act. When they are in danger or sickness, in prison or in any peril, they make promises to improve their lives fast or do other such things. But once the danger is over, they forget about their vow, saying, "I was in danger, so I am not bound to keep it."
The flea?
It is said that an abbot caught a flea, saying, "Now I have you. You often pricked me, waking me from my sleep. I will never let you go, but kill you immediately." The flea said, "Holy Father, since you intend to kill me, place me in your palm, so that I may confess my sins freely. Once I have confessed, you may kill me." Moved by compassion, the abbot placed the flea in the center of his palm. The flea immediately jumped and escaped. The abbot called out loudly for the flea, but it refused to return. Many people, when in a tight spot, make promises, but when they escape, they fail to fulfill them.
Alexander in danger.
It is said of a certain Alexander that when he was at sea, he promised God that if God would bring him safely to port, he would always be good and never offend God again. When he reached the port and was safe on land, he said, "Jesus, Jesus, I have deceived you. I still do not wish to be good." The barn. It says that a barn full of grain caught fire and was about to burn down completely. Seeing this, the owner of the barn prayed, "Lord God, extinguish the fire, and I will give the grain to the poor for your love." Immediately, the fire was extinguished and the grain was saved. However, as promised, he did not distribute it to the poor, for they believe for a time, but when temptation comes, they fall away. 6:16. The contest between the wolf and the hare. A wolf and a hare met, and the wolf said, "You are the most timid of all animals. Would you dare to compete with any animal?" The hare replied, "Certainly, even with you, though you have a large body and I a small one." The wolf, indignant, said, "I'll wager 10 gold coins against one that I'll beat you." The hare agreed, provided he was assured of the wager. They both gave guarantors. This done, the wolf and hare were placed in a field to fight. The wolf ran towards the hare to catch and devour it. The hare fled, and the wolf pursued as best he could, but the hare ran faster. The wolf, now tired, stopped and threw himself on the ground. He could run no more. The hare said, "You are now defeated and prostrate on the ground." The wolf asked, "How? Won't you wait for me?" The hare replied, "Indeed, it's true. What kind of fight would it be, since you're 3 times my size? With your open mouth, you could swallow my whole head. I don't fight except with my feet, by fleeing. I've often fought dogs this way and won, and you, defeated, must pay what you owe." This dispute arose, and the lion judged that the wolf was defeated. Similarly, one who wishes to fight against Venus, lust, and the world fights more safely and certainly wins by fleeing. The man who put a serpent in his bosom. A serpent lay on frozen ground, shivering from the cold. A man, moved by pity, picked it up and placed it in his bosom to warm it. But once the serpent was warm, it bit him sharply. The man cried out, "Why did you harm me when I saved you?" The serpent replied, Don't you know that my kind and yours are sworn enemies? I was born to hate you. Haven't you heard that a serpent in the bosom, a mouse in the bag, and fire in the lap always betray their hosts? Captured Saracens, whenever they can, kill their masters and escape. Likewise, an evil man, even if he receives kindness from someone he hates, will harm him the moment he gets the chance. As someone once said, I will hate when I can. If not, I will love unwillingly. In the same way, a wicked man will always follow his nature when given the opportunity. Therefore, never associate with a man of corrupt nature, and never put your trust in him. Note, this story is similar to number 176. 618. The ungrateful man and the poorly rewarded companion. A certain man showed great honor to a servant of the king. That servant then accused him alone. The man was called to court and charged. Knowing who had arranged this, he called the servant aside and said, Did I not serve you as best I could? I never did anything to displease you. Why do you work to harm me? The other replied, I know well that you honored me and never did me harm. But this is our nature in this land. We always repay evil to those who have done good to us. This is the nature of the devil, who always does evil to his friends and not to others. He rewards worse those who serve him. 619. The mouse who wanted to marry. Once upon a time, a mouse decided to get married and thought to herself that she wanted the strongest husband. She pondered who might be the mightiest. After much thought, she concluded that the wind must be the strongest, for it knocks down cedars, towers, and houses. So she sent messengers to the wind to ask it to be her husband. The wind asked, Why does she want to marry me? The messengers replied, Because you are the strongest of all creatures. The wind responded, No, the castle of Narbonne is stronger than me. It has withstood my force for over 1,000 years, breaking my strength without ever being knocked down by me. The messengers returned with the wind's response, and the mouse said, Since the castle is stronger, I want it to be my husband. She sent her request to the castle. The castle asked, Why does she want to marry me? The messengers answered, Because you are the strongest, even mightier than the wind. The castle replied, No, mice are stronger than I, for they bore through me all day, breaking and making paths within me. After much deliberation, the mouse realized that she should marry another mouse. Thus, many people devise grand plans and lofty goals only to end up with something much smaller and more ridiculous than they imagined. 620. The Stork and the Serpent. A stork came to the serpent's hole and called for it to come out. The serpent replied, Who are you, daring to disturb me? The stork said, I am a stork, and I would gladly contend with you. The serpent retorted, Miserable creature, with your thin, fragile legs and long, slender neck, how could you fight me? I defeated the mightiest animal, Adam, the first man created by God and his wife, and I killed many people in the desert. 100 storks like you couldn't defeat a single man. How do you presume to contend with me? The stork replied, Just come out of your hole and you'll see. Angered, the serpent came out hissing and with its mouth open, as if to devour the stork whole. The stork immediately struck the serpent's head with its beak, and the serpent fell, saying, Look, you've killed me. The stork said, Indeed, if Adam and other humans knew where your life and strength lie, and had used this technique, striking you on the head, they would never have been defeated by you. This tale teaches that one should resist at the beginning. Medicine prepared too late is useless when evils have grown strong through long delays. When you feel the first motions of lust or anger, resist immediately. A peacock, adorned with beautiful feathers and vibrant colors, stood out among the other birds. Elegant and proud, it attended a gathering of birds. A crow approached the peacock and asked for 2 feathers. The peacock responded, What will you give me in return? The crow replied, I will sing your praises loudly in the presence of other birds. The peacock agreed and gave the crow the feathers. Similarly, a rook, a cuckoo, and many other birds came to the peacock, asking for feathers, which it generously gave them. Soon the peacock was completely plucked. It should have been protecting its chicks, but it could not, for it no longer had any feathers. Then the cold weather arrived and the peacock perished. Its chicks, left without it, survived as best they could. 622. The Toad and the Frog. A toad, Living on land asked a frog, who lived in the river, for some water to drink. The frog agreed and gave the toad as much water as it wanted. Later, when the frog became hungry, it asked the toad for some earth. The toad replied, "I will certainly not give you any, because I, fearing it will run out, don't even eat enough myself." The Dog and Two Men, variant version. A dog follows two men. It is not clear whose dog it is, but when they part ways, the dog follows its true master. Concerning a certain Athenian. In Athens, it was a common practice that anyone who wished to be seen as a philosopher would be severely beaten. If they endured the pain without complaint, they would be considered a philosopher. A certain man was undergoing a harsh beating. Before it was determined whether he should be acknowledged as a philosopher, he immediately cried out, "I am truly worthy to be called a philosopher." Someone responded to him, "Brother, if you had stayed silent, you would have been a philosopher." The Old Father and His Son. Another man, having an old father who was coughing, said, "This peasant with his cough and spitting annoys us. Throw him out and dress him in an old sheepskin." The father, with nothing else to wear, nearly died. The young son of that man took the old skin and hung it on the wall. His father asked what he intended to do with it. The son replied, "I am saving it for you when you grow old, because this is how you treat your father. From you I learn how I should behave towards your old age. Do not despise a man in his old age, for some of us grow old." The Wolf and the Fox. A wolf, meeting a fox, said, "Cousin, where are you coming from?" The fox replied, "From a fish pond, where I caught excellent fish and ate my fill." The wolf asked, "How did you catch them?" The fox said, "I put my tail in the water and held it there for a long time. The fish, thinking it was something edible or that I was dead, clung to my tail. I pulled them to shore and ate them." The wolf inquired, "Could I catch fish like that too?" The fox answered, "Certainly, since you're stronger than I am." So the wolf hurried to the pond, put his tail in the water, and held it there for a long time until it froze, as it was very cold. After a long while he tried to pull out his tail, believing many fish were attached to it. But he couldn't because of the ice that held his tail. He was stuck there until morning. People came and beat the wolf nearly to death. When he barely escaped, he cursed his cousin, who had promised him fish but delivered beatings, wounds, and near death. Once upon a time, birds discovered a nest woven from roses and aromatic flowers. The eagle declared that this nest should be given to the noblest bird. She called a gathering of all the birds of the sky and asked, "Who is the noblest bird?" The cuckoo replied, "Cuck, cuck." The eagle then asked, "Who is the swiftest bird?" Again the cuckoo answered, "Cuck, cuck." The eagle inquired further, "Who is the most beautiful bird?" The cuckoo responded, "Cuck, cuck." Finally the eagle asked, "Who is the best singer?" Once more the cuckoo said, "Cuck, cuck." Angered, the eagle exclaimed, "Wretched cuckoo, you always praise yourself. For this I pronounce the harshest judgment against you. You shall never have this nest or any other." This is why the cuckoo always lays its eggs in other birds' nests. Many people constantly commend themselves and exalt their own work. If you ask religious orders which is the best, the Franciscans say Friars Minor. The Cistercian monks claim ours is better. The Dominicans do the same, and so do others, all singing cuck, cuck, praising themselves. Similarly, many teachers declare their opinions and treatises to be superior. Soldiers and all other types of people always sing cuck, cuck, but the righteous and humble always belittle themselves. 6:27. The Nightingale and the Archer. An archer caught a small bird named Philomela. Just as he was about to kill her, she was granted a voice and said, "What good will it do you to kill me? I cannot even fill your stomach. But if you let me go, I will offer you 3 pieces of advice. If you follow them carefully, you could gain great benefit." The archer, amazed by her speech, promised to release her if she shared her advice. Philomela said, "First, never try to catch what cannot be caught. Second, never grieve over something that is lost and cannot be recovered. Third, never believe an unbelievable story. Keep these, and you will fare well." As promised, the archer released her. Philomela, flying through the air, then said, "Woe to you, man! What poor judgment you had, and what a great treasure you lost today. For inside me is a pearl larger than an ostrich egg." Upon hearing this, the archer became very sad for letting her go. He tried to catch her again, saying, "Come to my house. I will treat you with kindness and release you with honor." Philomela replied, "Now I know for certain that you are a fool. You gained nothing from what I told you. You grieve over what is lost and irrecoverable. You tried to catch me when you could not, and you believed there was a pearl so large inside me when I am not even as big as an ostrich egg. Thus fools are those who trust in idols, worshipping what they have created, and thinking that what they guard can protect them." 6 and 28. The wolf, the fox, and the donkey. Once a wolf heard the confessions of animals. After many confessed to having committed great sins, the fox finally spoke and admitted that she had stolen and eaten many chickens without blessing them, and so on. Then the donkey came forward and confessed, saying, "I took one small bundle of hay that had fallen from someone's cart, and I did this because of the hunger I was suffering." The wolf turned to the fox and said, "You have not sinned, for it is innate and natural for you to steal chickens. But cursed be the donkey who took what belonged to another." And so, the wolf ordered the donkey to be beaten and sentenced him to be hanged, while the fox was let off unharmed. How a rustic was invited by his lord to dinner. A certain rustic was invited by his lord to a feast. Upon arriving at the gates of the lord's house, he saw stagnant water in a pit. Feeling a little thirsty, he drank from it. His stomach filled with the foul liquid, despite his companion's warning, "Brother, the Lord has prepared the best food and wine for you. Stay away from this filth." But he ignored the advice. When lunchtime arrived, he could not enjoy the finest foods. Instead, in front of everyone, he drank more of the stagnant water. The lion who invited the beasts. Once, a lion held a grand feast with other beasts. He invited many animals and served them various types of meat and many delicacies. After the celebration, the beasts returned to their homes. On the way, the wolf met a sow eating draff. The sow asked, "Where are you coming from, Isengrim?" He replied, "I come from the lion's noble feast. Were you there?" The sow inquired, "Were there beautiful dishes and many delicacies?" The wolf affirmed, "Indeed, there were many, beautiful and well prepared." The sow asked, "Was there draff or pig food?" The wolf exclaimed, "Curse you! What are you asking? God forbid such vile food should be served at such a feast." Thus are many who value nothing but draff, their own desires, good wine, or pleasures of the flesh. The scarab and the dung heap. A scarab beetle once flew through blooming almond trees, orchards, roses, lilies, and other flowers. Finally it landed in a dung heap where there were horse and cattle droppings. There it found its wife, who asked where it had been. The scarab said, "I've travelled the earth and flown across it. I've seen almond blossoms, roses, and lilies. But I've never seen a place as pleasant and delightful as this one," pointing to the dung heap. 31. The Sword of Damocles. In ancient Syracuse, a city in Sicily, there lived a king named Dionysius. He had a courtier named Damocles, who often praised the king's wealth and power. One day Dionysius said to Damocles, "Since you think my life is so pleasant, would you like to try it for yourself?" Damocles eagerly accepted. The king ordered Damocles to sit on the royal throne. Servants attended him and offered him delicious food and wine. Damocles felt happy and important. Then Dionysius told him to look up. Damocles saw a sharp sword hanging above his head, held only by a single horsehair. His joy vanished instantly. "Do you now understand what it is to be king?" Dionysius asked. "This sword hangs over my head every day. I never know when it might fall. Great power brings great danger." Damocles begged to leave and said he no longer wanted to be as fortunate as the king. 6 and 32. Julian the Apostate. Julian the Apostate, when he wanted to descend into Persia, sent a demon to the west to bring back a response about what he should do. When the demon arrived at a place where a religious man was praying, he stood there for 10 days, motionless, and could not pass because the holy man did not cease praying day and night. The demon returned without accomplishing his task. Julian asked him, "Why were you so delayed?" The demon replied, "I could not pass due to these circumstances." Then Julian, angered, said, "When I return, I will punish him." But after a few days he was killed by a soldier whom the Blessed Virgin had raised. Seeing this, a man who was with Julian became a monk. 633. The four kinds of trees. There are 4 kinds of trees, each representing different human characteristics. The first tree neither grows green nor bears fruit. It represents a wicked person, hardened in sin, who produces nothing good. This tree will be cut down and cast into eternal fire. The second tree sprouts leaves and flowers but bears no fruit. Like the fig tree cursed by Jesus, it represents a hypocrite. Outwardly they appear virtuous but lack true goodness. They fast, pray, and give alms for the sake of vain glory, not true virtue. The third tree bears evil fruit. As written in Matthew, every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. This represents those who openly commit evil deeds and set a bad example for others. The fourth tree bears good and lasting fruit. This represents a person who does good and perseveres in it until the end of their life. As it is said, he who perseveres to the end will be saved. The Fox and the Wolf. A fox was eating fish by the river when a hungry wolf approached and asked for a share. The fox refused, saying it wasn't fitting for the wolf to eat his leftovers. Instead, the fox offered to teach the wolf how to fish. The wolf fetched a basket from a village as instructed. The fox tied a heavy bag to the wolf's tail and told him to drag the basket across the river to catch fish. As the wolf struggled, the fox secretly threw stones into the basket to make it heavier. When the wolf couldn't move, the fox pretended the basket was full of fish and went to get help to pull it out. The fox then went to the village and alerted the villagers that the wolf, who had been eating their sheep, was now stealing fish from the river. The villagers came and attacked the wolf, who barely escaped with his tail broken off. Later, when the Lion King was ill, the wolf suggested using the fox's skin as medicine. The fox overheard this and rolled in mud before visiting the king. He told the king that the real cure was to skin the short-tailed wolf instead. The lion followed this advice, leaving the wolf without his skin while the fox escaped. This fable warns against seeking revenge through deceit and slander, as it often backfires on the vengeful party. 635. The judgments of God revealed by an angel. A devout hermit, seeing many wicked people and sinners enjoying worldly prosperity, while those who lived justly and piously suffered tribulations, infirmities, poverty, and reproach, often murmured against the Lord. God, wishing to reveal the reason for such puzzling events to his servant, sent an angel to him. The angel came and instructed the hermit to follow him. On the first night, they stayed with a pious man who loved God and lived devoutly. The man received them hospitably, offering all the necessities and serving them a drink from a cherished cup, which he valued above all worldly possessions. In the morning, the angel took the precious cup, seen only by the hermit. The following night, they stayed with a wicked man who reluctantly received them. The angel gave him the cup that had been taken. On the third night, they were received at the palace of a powerful man, where a seneschal managed all the affairs of the Lord. In the morning, the angel seized the seneschal on a bridge and threw him into a deep river, where he perished. On the fourth night, they stayed with a married man who had a newborn son. The man joyfully welcomed them and provided for their needs. At dawn, the angel strangled the infant in its cradle. The hermit, horrified and bewildered, turned to the angel and said, "Surely you are not a good angel, but a demon, for your deeds clearly show evil." The angel replied, "Brother, believe me, I am truly God's angel, sent to you so that through the deeds you have witnessed, you may understand and learn not to judge the works of God or dare to murmur against him, for it is rash and forbidden by God. I have come to reveal his will to you." The angel then explained his actions. He took the cup from the pious man to prevent his attachment to it from diminishing his love for God. He gave it to the wicked man as a reward for his hospitality, as he was deprived of eternal goods. The seneschal was killed to prevent him from accumulating further sins and suffering worse torment in hell. The infant was strangled because its parents, once charitable, had become greedy after its birth and would have been damned by their love for the child and their avarice. With these words, the angel vanished. The hermit, now fully enlightened, returned home, expelled such thoughts from his mind, and gave thanks to God in all things. The wolf and the sheep kissing each other. The king of animals summoned all the creatures and ordered that they kiss one another wherever they met, as a sign of alliance, peace, and love. Later, a wolf encountered a sheep, who had long kept her distance from him, fearing his malice. The wolf said to her, "Come, dearest, let us obey the king's recent decree," mixing in many flattering words. The sheep, not trusting his promises, replied, knowing his harmful nature, especially towards animals like herself. The wolf then agreed that he would lie on his back with his eyes closed, allowing her to kiss him without breaking the king's command. The unsuspecting sheep agreed, and when she approached and kissed him, she barely escaped his wicked jaws. She said, "Although you speak sweetly, pretending love, your habitual malice cannot be hidden in your actions." This story serves as a symbol of false lovers and those who are accustomed to causing harm. 637. The Tame. A certain householder had tamed an asp so well that every day it would come out of its chamber and approach his table gently, as if seeking food without harming anyone. Over time, the asp brought 2 of its offspring with it, one of which was not yet tamed. The untamed offspring poisoned the householder's son. Witnessing this ingratitude, the mother asp cruelly killed her own offspring in front of those present. As if overcome with shame and embarrassment, she retreated to her chamber and never appeared again. 638. The ass with the privilege, the fox and the wolf. The lion decreed that all animals should appear before him. When they gathered, he asked if any animal was missing. He was told that a certain donkey was missing, leisurely grazing in a pleasant green meadow. To bring him, the lion sent the wolf, known for his strength, and the fox, known for his wisdom, on the advice of his council. Approaching the donkey, they announced that he should appear before his lord like the others, to humbly hear his decree. The donkey replied that he was protected by a privilege exempting him from all summons and decrees. The messengers asked to read his privilege, which the donkey allowed. An argument arose between the wolf and the fox about who should read it. The lot fell to the fox, who asked to be shown the privilege. The donkey said, "Read confidently under my raised right foot." As the fox approached, the donkey struck and tore out his eyes. The wolf, taking caution, said, "Those who prove to be more learned clerks are not more cautious in action." The lion represents reason, which governs all that man does. The wolf represents strength, the fox prudence, and the donkey the heavy flesh that craves delights, which scorns to obey reason and blinds and confounds prudence that comes too close. The dispute between the eagle and the rat. Aquila the eagle and Rattus the rat argued about who could see more clearly. Rattus claimed that he could see better in dark places, while Aquila boasted about his ability to see from great heights. Aquila said, "I am the king of all flying creatures. With my wings I soar higher than any bird. From the sky I can see valleys, mountains, plains, fences, forests, and ditches all at once. I can choose and take whatever I desire." Rattus replied, "Let's test your claim." Aquila agreed to carry Rattus on his shoulders, flying high into the sky. When they reached a height where Rattus could no longer see anything of the land, Aquila said, "Now I see the land, mountains, valleys, ditches, and corpses ready for plunder." Rattus, unable to see anything, asked Aquila to descend in order to prove his claims. As they neared the ground, Rattus saw a hunter setting traps. He quickly jumped off Aquila's shoulders and escaped. Aquila, still focused on the supposed corpses, was caught in the hunter's snare. Rattus rebuked Aquila, saying, "You boasted about seeing the world more clearly, yet you missed the trap set by your own kind. I saw the danger and escaped through foresight. My vision proved truer, as your poor eyesight has left you in this predicament." This story illustrates how those in high positions, symbolized by the eagle, may overlook immediate dangers due to their lofty perspective. Meanwhile, the humble and cautious, symbolized by the rat, often perceive and avoid nearby threats more effectively. 640. The Soldier and the Serpent. A knight was riding through a forest when he saw 2 snakes fighting. One of the snakes, near defeat, cried out, "Brave soldier, you see that I am about to die. Help me and I will repay you." The knight got off his horse and used his lance to separate the 2 snakes, saving the weaker one. After being saved, the snake climbed up the soldier's lance and tried to strangle him. The soldier cried out, "Vicious creature, why do you attack me after I helped you?" The snake replied, "I am repaying you as promised. This is the way of the world, evil for good." The soldier protested, but the snake suggested that they seek judgment from the first 3 animals they came across. They agreed, and soon they met an old horse. After hearing the story, the horse said, "I served my master faithfully for many years, but now that I am old and weak, I have been cast aside. This is how the world repays kindness." Next, they came across an old ox who told a similar story of long years of service, only to be neglected in old age. The snake turned to the soldier and said, "You see, soldier, this is the judgment of the wise." Finally, they met a clever fox. The fox listened to their story and suggested that they reenact their positions, the soldier on horseback with his lance and the snake on the ground. Once they were in position, the fox gave his judgment. "Soldier, ride free and avoid meddling with the wicked. Snake, return to your nature, crawl on your belly and eat dust." This story shows that even when good people help the unjust, they may face malice in return. However, it also demonstrates that wisdom and prudence can overcome such ingratitude and restore justice. 641. The Wolf and the Priest. A wolf came to a donkey to confess, eyeing it with one eye while keeping the other on the priest and the nearby sheep. He said to the priest, "Grant me swift penance, for I have matters to attend to. I see a flock of sheep on that mountain, and they are already starting to descend." This happened on his last day, as he was preparing to leave this world. Many people act in a similar way, only seeking repentance on the last day of Lent. When they bow before the priest, women and others look at him with one eye, their minds still on worldly matters. They do not truly wish to leave the land of sin and enter the realm of purity. The beneficial nature of weakness. A soldier, afflicted with an illness, sought a religious man and asked him to pray to God for his deliverance from the disease. The religious man asked, "Tell me, brother, in which state do you turn your thoughts more towards God? Is it when you are healthy or when you are suffering from illness?" The soldier replied, "When illness troubles me, I sigh for God with all my heart. But when I feel healthy, I yearn entirely for worldly matters." The religious man responded, "Then I pray that God may keep you in the state where you fear him." 643. A note about the monkey and the master. It is told of a certain man who kept a monkey in his shop. This monkey was so clever that no one could steal anything from the shop without being noticed by it. One day, a merchant came and claimed he could steal something from the shop, even with the monkey guarding it. The shopkeeper made a deal with the merchant for a certain sum of money to see if this was true. The merchant entered the shop and began making various gestures in front of the monkey, opening his mouth, bending his nose, and closing his eyes with 2 fingers. The monkey, wanting to imitate him, also closed its eyes with 2 fingers. While the monkey's eyes were shut, the merchant stole some money. When the shopkeeper saw how the monkey had been tricked, he struck it and explained that it had been deceived by the merchant. The next day, the merchant returned and tried to trick the monkey in the same way by closing its eyes with 2 fingers. However, this time, the monkey forcefully opened its eyes wide with 2 fingers instead, showing that it would not be fooled again. This story illustrates how even cleverness can be outwitted, but also how experience can lead to wisdom. 644. The Buzzard and the Hawk. A buzzard laid one of her eggs in a hawk's nest. The hawk, believing it to be her own, incubated it alongside her own eggs. When the egg hatched, the hawk raised the young buzzard as if it were one of her brood. The hawk's chicks were careful to cast their droppings outside the nest, but the young buzzard soiled it. Noticing this, the hawk asked her young, "Who is fouling the nest like this?" All of them denied responsibility, saying, "Not I." Eventually, after closer examination, the hawk's chicks pointed to the buzzard chick with its large head and said, "It's that one." Angered by this discovery, the hawk seized the young buzzard by its head and threw it out of the nest. She exclaimed, "I hatched you from an egg, but I could not change your nature." As Horace wrote, "Naturam expellus furca, tamen usque recurret." You may drive out nature with a pitchfork, yet she will always return. 645. The Lion and the Unicorn. The lion pretended to be sick and limped up to the unicorn, his chief enemy, and greeted him. He said, "Whatever has happened between us up until now, let it be forgotten. I can no longer harm anyone, as you can see, for I am old and weakened by many illnesses. But before I die, I deeply wish to speak one last time with my wife, who is in the desert. I ask you, if you would be so kind, to lend me your horn so that I can use it as a walking stick on my journey, because your horn is long and strong. I will return it to you as soon as I reach my wife. I give you my word on that." The unicorn believed the lion's words and, moved by his supposed suffering, kindly lent him his horn, leaving himself defenseless. The lion then moved forward and attacked. He seriously wounded the unicorn with the unicorn's own horn, and thus defeated him.